Hi guys, hope you all have a good Christmas. Happy New Year to everyone. This is going to be our first proper trading week back of 2023. So let's kind of have a look what we got. So dollar going in from pretty much near end of last year, we kind of pretty much start to roll over. At the moment, we are kind of looking to see if we are going to come down and target these lows. Well, to be fair, we already kind of have. We can see we've got pretty much equal lows resting here. So now what I really want to wait and do is to see if price is actually just going to come down, whether price is going to potentially give us a little bit of return, then come back down, or price is actually going to break a little bit to come up and then come down. So on the weekly, we have this overall demand area, which I'm expecting price to come into. You can see we've got a real nice imbalance within here. This is where the actual buy kind of started within this range, kind of almost. This was the demand, which you can see we had supply. This was all invalidated. And this was actually the new demand that was created from the supply that was broken. This was our major supply, and you can see within our overall range. And then we're waiting to see if price is in fact going to look to trade back into here. If we really look at this, we have a break structure here. And if we use our fib, you can see price is actually in around the 50% of where kind of this whole supply and demand area is. So definitely could see price kind of coming down to at least 12.70, around that area. Going from the back of last week though, you can see this was our NFP. If we go on a weekly NFP, we create this big wick. We did actually take out some highs, so let's break this down a little bit. So you can see NFP, we did actually take out all of this range within here. I didn't actually mark this out, but you can see we had our supply within here, which was then tested. And from that test, we pretty much kind of just crushed back down a little bit. I did want to see if price is going to potentially come up into anywhere within this region. We didn't get that. That's fine. You don't always get it. But the main thing is we swept a lot of this liquidity in here, sweeping out this high, which you can see actually caused a break. We have a small piece of demand within here that was actually invalidated. So now this is the flip. We want to be looking for the supply that caused the break of this demand. And you can see, let me just on this break structure. This was in fact the supply which invalidated this demand, and that was not yet tested. So, oops. So you can see price has actually finally come up, tested this area, and now we have had some pretty much a big sell-off. So actually breaking it down massively. Obviously, we've got this hourly, which I'm sure everyone is looking at. We do that hourly, the 30-minute, we can kind of break it all down. There's like a few different zones kind of within this area. You can see we had a really nice test of this. So now I'm looking to see if price is going to potentially look to come in and test off this region again. Can do a little bit of refinement. Take out this zone as well. So this is kind of what I'm going to be looking for going into next week to see if we do kind of get that bit of an impulse. If we go into the hourly time frame, I think this is probably just a little bit more than 50%. So yeah, just a little bit more. But you can see prices within this premium part of this range. So that is quite nice to see. So definitely going to be looking for shorts off of this area to actually then start heading back down into that 12.17 region, which is down here. So that's what I'm looking for dollar. So basically, if I'm looking for this to dollar, that means everything against dollar is potentially going to be looking to do the same. So everything across the dollar is going to look like this. A lot of pairs do look like this. This kind of does look like your GU, your AU, your EURUSD. So this is looking familiar, I'm sure, for a few of you. But that's what I'm waiting for on the dollar. Now, we might not actually get that full retracement back up yet. We could actually officially break these lows first, so we could see Monday, Tuesday, and then going into Wednesday, Thursday, come back up, and then Friday we could have that sell-off. But let's just wait and see what we do get. If price does start looking to come back up at the beginning of the week, then I'm going to be looking for sells from this region. If price does actually come back down lower, and we do start to look like we are kind of accumulating a little bit, I will potentially look for some buys to see if we can get into this region of price. If we actually pull a fib, we can kind of guess where it's potentially going to be. So even if price, we'll see. Yeah, just to break down this low again, it'd be quite nice to see the fib line up. I'm just guessing right now of where price potentially be. I'm not going to use this because in the grand scheme of things, if we are actually looking at this, this is our break structure. So we got our lower high, potentially now looking to see if we're going to create a lower high to create a higher high. At the moment, I don't think we're going to get that. I do think because we do have equal lows, we've got some pretty much equal lows in here. I do think price could actually just roll over. Momentum is super bearish, weekly, daily. So I'm not going to kind of be looking for anything more than that, to be honest with you. So for me, dollar is on a short bias. We do have other areas that we could see get filled all the way back up on the daily up here. But what I do think could potentially happen is we could break this first to then have a bigger retracement to then actually come back down into that 50% region. But let's just see what we're doing, because this could be right in the middle of the year. So there's a lot of price action that could happen, but for the time being, I'm sure everyone is kind of looking at this region as well. So this is going to be my sell zone within here. Euro pound, if I'm going to be really honest with you, I haven't done any analysis on this. Nothing was actually looking too amazing, to be honest with you. I am and do want to see if price is actually going to start potentially come down, take out this low, and potentially start filling some areas down in here. We do have a lot of liquidity that is resting, to be fair. We do have this wick low, and I am actually overall still waiting for price to come down into this weekly zone in here, because if we look at the grand scheme of things, we've got a low, lower, high, lower, low. No, sorry, we've got a low, high, 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 low, high, high. Now waiting to see if we can get that high low to come back and get that higher high. We could actually just get that now. That doesn't mean that we can't get it. I'm just going to use the closure. Obviously, prices actually coming to the 50% zone is still valid. Sometimes we kind of wait for things that don't actually happen or aren't actually there. But there are a few zones that I do want to be looking at for potential buys. But at the time being, I do want to see if price can really just kind of take out this low first. If we do start taking out this low, that's when I'm probably going to be looking for areas like this to become and filled kind of within this region for then our pullbacks and shorts. And then we can start heading and taking out a lot of this and come in and fill a lot of this imbalance in here. There isn't, from my opinion, anything really that amazing in here, other than a lot of wicks. I'm trying to break it down to see. There isn't really a massive amount. I mean, we do have this 4 minute up here, but nothing really stands out for me personally on the 1 minute, and still nothing really. Everything has kind of been a little bit filled and tested, so I'm not really looking at this too much and too heavy, but I am going to stick on a 4 hour just to see if we do make any kind of movement to the downside. So euro pound, I'm going to sit and wait. Gold is just been on a pretty bullish run, to be fair. I was saying just after Christmas, I was looking at the market and I wanted to see if price is going to come back into 1870. We literally just achieved that on AFP. We do have a few zones that I am looking for within here, you can see, and we have followed a real nice mitigation trail within here. So now 1880 got met. You can see we do have this last 4 hourly move in here, but you can see this we literally just swept these highs with this high, took out that high as well. We invalidated this demand and price broke lower. We never actually came up and filled or tested that. So we could do that. We very much well could do that. Price is pretty close, to be honest with you. So I do want to see what could happen with that. Going in from last week NFP, you can see we had pretty massive, big impulsive move. There was a lot of demand that was filled and tested within here. We do have another zone in here. Let me just draw that out. Within here, oh, we just missed that. But you can see after we had kind of this little bit of a change of character, price actually came down, we filled and tested this demand, and then we really kind of broke structures from here. So what I'm looking for is obviously potential pullbacks. Now we do have a pretty nice break of structure. I do want to see kind of like everything else, if we're just going to kind of come up and continue. If we invert the scale, you can see this is, to be honest with you, it's not really looking like the dollar too much. I'm sure it's more like euro and AU. But my bias is kind of still the same with a lot of these. We have a couple of zones that I'm looking for potential buys. We do have this smaller zone in here. And then when we break it down, we do have a 15-minute, or is it 20? Let's have a look. Oh yeah, cool. So we have this 20-minute move in here, which we could see some nice reactions from. Breaking it down a little bit more, I think it's on a 5-minute. Yeah, so 5-minute, you can see we had this supply that was invalidated with this demand. We pushed higher, we came down, we filled, we tested, and then we continued. On the 5-minute as well, we do have just a small zone in here, which we very much could see get filled or tested. So I do want to see if we can look from longs from a few places from here to take this to the upside, or if we do want to come down a little bit deeper and just have that proper fill, we could actually get this move to play out. Did actually now, as you can see, have a full break structure. So now if we use a fib, so you can see the fib is kind of leaning towards more down to this level. That does not mean that price cannot just test off the 50. I have seen that before. It does happen quite a lot on gold. So anywhere from kind of this whole wick range is where I potentially want to be looking for buys. I've noticed when there's news, price does only like to come down and kind of feel like 50% of the zones. So this is kind of going to be the first zone I'm looking at. Not that I trade EMAs that much, but we do have a real nice EMA cross here. And you can see, just waiting for price to come back down and head higher. What I do want to see is a lot of generated liquidity within the form of highs. And then we should get that raid of all of these highs. So gold, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking for price to come back down and head long, at least into 1770 again. If not, maybe a little bit higher, 1775, 1780. But I do want to see what is happening. If going into next week, we do have this accumulation or distribution playing out, I do want to see if we can potentially get into some tests and sells back to the downside, because there is quite a few pips within this move. Let's just see from here, 50%, it's like 230 pip move. So I do want to see if we can get that, but more the thing that I'm looking for more of the longs, just in this scenario. So let's go on to AU. AU kind of pretty much the same thing, to be honest with you, same as gold. Yeah, same as gold, same as dollar, same as kind of everything else really. I'm pretty sure on the dollar as well. If we invert this again, you can see this is it's looking pretty much like the dollar as well. We came in, we tested previous supply. We've now got this imbalance, this demand. And again, you can see price tested previous supply. And now we've kind of got this whole region, which I'm looking at. So what are we looking for? 689.32, that is a high that I'm going to be looking for to actually get taken out. At the moment, we have generated pretty nice equal highs. So if we generate equal highs, so the price take that. Okay, so price literally just took out that high. And I do want to just see if we can have pretty much just some continuations, to be fair. All of this has just been filled and tested. Really, really nice to see. First off, we came in off of this demand in here. And then you can see a lot of this was all filled. Price, then it came out, we swept this low. And we did, in fact, just test this wick, which in fact filled what was the demand within this region in here. So everything's been filled, everything's been tested, everything's been raided and taken out as how it should have been. Again, a lot of demands all within this area, and you can see we've just been liquidating and breaking higher, liquidating, breaking higher, liquidating, testing, breaking higher. You can see breaking high, came down, liquidated more, liquidated these lows. And then as soon as price came into this last level of demand, which was down here, which actually came in and tested here, then we actually had that big impulsion move. I did and would have liked to have seen this be a little bit more filled, but it doesn't matter. Imbalances aren't really that important. That does not mean to say that price can't potentially come down here in the future, maybe. But for the time being, I'm not really going to be focusing on that too much. I think because we tested off NFP within the move on that small hourly that was in here, that's given me a bit more conviction. If price really wanted to come down here, it would have done that. But we didn't, so that's all the kind of the story that we need to know. So at the moment, right now, we do have a few areas which I'm looking at. This was actually where the original buying started. You can see we had these lows in here, price came down, we swept. We actually came down. This is on a 5 minute, I'm sure on a 1 minute, but I don't really want to go to 1 minute. All of these lows we got taken with this, and this last wick in here got tested. I'm just going to go down on the 1 minute. Okay, cool. So you can see 1 minute, we had that last final move. That could have been a very, very valid entry. That really could have came down test, and then this is when the impulse really started to occur. So what am I looking at for this week? Basically same as everything else, to be fair. Everyone is kind of eyeing up this whole level in here, which is valid, obviously. Looking for price to see if we can come into the 50%. What do we have within the 50%, which I'm looking for? We do have a couple little bits. We do have this 5 minute move. We see we have a test of this demand in here, and now you can see we're looking for if price is actually going to come back down into this last 5 minute move. And again, we go into the dollar. If we go to 5 minute, you can see again we do have this 5 minute move, which is correlating and lining up quite nicely to AU. That looks very similar, if you ask me, because here we have this zone, price come in 5 minute, we had that impulse, price came into this little zone here, we had that 5 minute, and then we get that big impulse. So that's why I'm looking at for the dollar. Failing that, if price does want to liquidate and go a little bit lower, we do have this smaller zone down in here, which I am going to be keeping my eye on, because if we actually look at it, we do have a little bit of lows in here, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be buying off of this zone. So I feel like we could kind of get a little bit reaction going into the Asian and then actually have something like this. I've seen this happen before. I'm not saying that it's going to happen. It might just have like a really nice test of the zone and continue higher, but that is definitely something that I'm going to be looking for, and keeping my eye out for. Yeah, you can see we just took that. So two zones that I'm looking for, really, really, really nice. I probably will just be placing orders at these zones and kind of just waiting to see. First trade looking for is about a 1 to 6, and the second one is about just under a 1 to 10. So really, really nice zones that I'm looking for. Again, target is 68932 for continuations higher. We do have higher levels, which I'm sure price could trade into. I mean, if we look at this whole movement impulse, price is basically coming into our supply zone and our fib levels that we are looking for. I wouldn't be surprised if we took out this high, to be really honest with you. Just have a quick liquidation of it, could even pump up a little bit higher. I know we do have a little bit of an unmitigated zone again in here, which was not tested, but I do want to see if price is going to give us that. We did actually come in and test this wick, which was like a 4 hourly, I believe, but so far all of the mitigations and the trails are looking really, really nice. So it's just going to be the case of sitting on our hands and waiting for this move to actually play out. We could potentially get shorts depending on what's happening. If we do actually start breaking these zones, I do want to see if price can actually come back up and give us a bit more of a move back down. But what we could also see is going into Monday, we could actually have a raid at these highs, and then this is when we could get that break structure, looking for a zone to trade off, looking for that pullback and that short move back down. So again, a few things could happen. Going into next week, again, I'm just going to sit on my hands, wait, see what the market wants to do and kind of see how the market develops. EURUSD. EURUSD is pretty much the same as everything else which has been playing out, to be fair. we have this high resting here, which I do want to see if price is going to take out. Basically 7.0750. That is our major half point that we're looking for, so we can actually map that out. So coordinates. So what I'm going to do is just label this my okay, so MHP, this just stands for major half point. So you got major whole numbers. If you guys know about quarters theory, then you'll know about this. If you don't, then I potentially think it's something that you guys should look at. But let's actually kind of break down. I had a really, really nice trade last week. But again, you can just see this is kind of looking the same as the dollar, really and truly. Just waiting to see if we can actually come down and take out this high again on the dollar. Just waiting to see if we can come down and take out this low. So that is what I'm looking for. That is going to be the level. I've actually just spotted something quickly. Oh, okay, so it's just that high level. Nothing really to worry about. Cool. So again, you can see the correlation between the two is looking really, really nice. If I invert the scale, let's go back and look what happened last week. So I had a really, 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 really nice trade last week. You can see prices breaking lower and lower and lower and going into NFP. This is where we had this major impulse. We had that liquidation lower. We had that liquidation lower price, then impulse high. So we broke out of this structure. And again, you can see this is our first kind of change of character. I was waiting to see if price is going to test anywhere off of this zone. You can see we had a really nice test of this zone. Price broke high, and then we had even more of a breaker structure. Again, it's just looking for the same zones that caused this breaker structure. So I had my buy limit. As soon as we broke out of this high, I have my buy limit here. And my stops literally just, I think I had about 10 pips stop loss, to be fair. And I was waiting for price to come in and take out this high, 130 pips. So you can see as soon as price entered our trade, just complete straight bull run. So this is really, really nice to see. So again, we're looking at this, we've had a breaker structure now. What is it we want to be looking for? Again, same as everything, to be fair. We have this hourly within here, hourly demand, pull back down, looking for anywhere kind of within the 50%, drop it down to 15-minute. We do have a little imbalance, 10-minute, nothing really too crazy. But I'm looking for potentially off of this 5-minute move. And again, you can see if I invert this 5-minute move in here, let me just delete this off. This 5-minute move is looking pretty much the same as the same 5-minute move, which is in here. Where are we? You can see that is looking pretty similar. So that is where I'm going to be looking for to see if price is actually going to give me some sort of move and buys off of this region. And again, failing that, just a little bit lower on that hourly. We do have a little bit of a lower area, which price could come into, because in the grand scheme of things, we do still have an imbalance in here. And this is where the kind of buying actually really started. Buying, we impulse, we came back down low, we tested small things, and then we actually pumped. But that does not mean that we can't come into this zone. I do have this supply zone in here, which I do want to see price come into, but in the grand scheme of things, I do really want to see this high getting taken. Not all the time, but more times than not. I'm sure I've showed you these in videos before. Whenever you kind of have a wick like this and you have like a little bit of noise, more times than not, it kind of gets taken out. Let's just say, for example, okay, here we have this wick here. You can see there's kind of a lot of noise that happens, and then price actually eventually goes in and takes out that wick. Let's go. Well, to be fair, you can see pretty much all of these wicks get taken. This wick got taken, this wick got taken, this wick did get taken, like did this one, like did this one. So wicks do get taken. I'm trying to find like a nice good example for you guys. If not, I will do another video on it. Let's say potentially this one as well. You can see this high get ran. There's quite a few examples. They are just liquidity wicks, just a little bit of basic knowledge that you guys should know. Again, I think I've already showed you this one. You can see we have this wick. Price takes this out. So this is what I'm waiting for. We have now at a massive break structure, kind of just break this down again. So you can see this is our major supply. Within this small little region, we had a break structure. Price came all the way back down. NFP come out 130. You can see rated the low. Where this price impulsively broke above this. This is when we had that kind of had that breaker structure and started invalidating this supply. Once we actually pretty much invalidated it, when we just started taking up the high, that was telling me that price is looking to come back and test the demand that caused that, which you can see was all down within here, which we had that nice test. Now we've had that breaker structure, looking for the area that caused that. So I do want to see if price can trickle back down and actually give us another leg to the upside. And my final target on this is actually going to be that higher time frame, 70500. There are a few levels higher up which could get tested, but at the moment I'm just gonna sit and wait a little bit. I know and can see we do have this high just resting here which didn't actually get taken out. So that is what I'm going to be waiting for. I want to see some pullbacks and longs. I do have a couple zones which I'm going to be looking for longs from. What I can do is take this up again. Let's break it down. So again, looking for this 5-minute full buys. I'm just going to give myself a little bit of a breathing room on this. This trade is a 1 to 9, and the second one, because I do think potentially we could have this wick, because this is where we had that big manipulation and then price actually pumped higher. So again, we have a 1 to 14 on this, and like I said, our final target being that wick high going into 70500. So that could be a nice potential swing trade that we could see going on into the new year. This is what I want to see. So Euro USD, US 30, again, basically looking the same as everything else. I did want to see if we could get these lows around. We literally just swept it with a little bit. I did want to see if price could come into here. Again, we didn't get that. That's fine, is what it is. I do want to see if price can just come back up into this 5-hourly zone. So again, now I've had that break structure, I just want to see that little pullback and that bullish movement again. I think it's on a 20-minute, 25-minute, was it? More 15. Yeah, so this 15-minute move, and we do have this small move in here, which I do want to see if price is going to take out. Again, I am just going to wait for confirmations. Just wait and sit on your hands. There's literally no need to rush anything. The more you wait for really, really nice trades, when you actually catch them and sit on them, all of the time waiting, it kind of does make up for that. Personally, I only really trade USD pairs other than Euro Pound, but there's nothing really that exciting on there. If you guys got any pairs that you want me to kind of look over, please let me know, fire away, and I will help you as much as I can, and I can do some analysis and give you my personal view and my own opinion on what I think could happen. But I hope you guys have a good first trading week. Like I said, if you guys have got any questions, please let me know. Feel free to fire away and do not hesitate to ask. All right, guys. Thank you.